Hey champion guitar players, do you sometimes get bored when playing over a 12-bar blues progression because you're playing the same old pentatonic scales or the same old blues scales? Hey, I love pentatonic scales and blues is great. I think it's cool too. Okay, but I don't want to only play pentatonic and blues scales when there's a blues song to solo over, and maybe you would like something else different also. So today, I'm going to show you some cool, exotic, and fun and different ways, some unique ways to solo over a 12-bar blues progression using dominant seventh chords, like we often would find in blues. And then I'll teach you a completely different way to think about soloing without using any scales at all. So this will give your soloing over seventh chords a completely different sound and feel. And once again, this is going to be a lot of fun. So grab your guitar and let's get started. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to play for you an A7 chord. So you've got the sound of A7 in your ears. Now instead of playing the typical, A blues scale or pentatonic, which is cool classic blues rock sound, but if you want to hear something more exotic and if you want to have a little bit more fun, do something different and unique, let's try a fifth mode of harmonic minor scale over this chord. We'd have this. Now, how and why does this scale work over an A7 chord? Well, the notes of the A7 chord are A, C sharp, E, and G. So we could play any scale that contains those notes, A, C sharp, E, and G. And the fifth mode of harmonic minor, starting on A, does contain all those notes. A, B flat, there's the C sharp from the chord, D, there's our E note from the chord, F, then G, that's from the A7 chord, and then we're back to the root. So if I just play an A drone, you hear that this works. It sounds really cool and it's going to work over that chord. And later on, I'll show you what it will sound like over a 12-bar blues chord progression. Okay? But what I want to do next is move to example 2. And this is the same scale, just moved up from A to D. The exact same scale, same fingering, just everything slid from the 5th fret to the 10th fret. So if we're playing a 12-bar blues progression, and then the chord goes from A7 to D7, we can play and you hear that scale works over the D7 chord. Okay? So what does that mean? How would you use this? Well, if we've got our 12-bar blues progression, when you've got the A7 chord, you would play the fifth mode of harmonic minor on A down here. Then when the chord changes to D7, you can take that same fingering and move it up. And it will fit that chord perfectly. And then, typically in 12-bar blues, after the D7 chord, you'd go back to A7 again. And then you can go back to that scale there, the fifth mode of harmonic minor, with the A as the root. And then when we get to the 5 chord, the E7, So this chord here, that's E7. You take the same exact scale and you start it on E. So the fingering is the same. Everything's the same. We're just sliding the scale up from the 5th fret, where you would play it over the A7 chord, 10th fret over the D7 chord, and then at the 12th fret over the E7 chord. And it sounds really cool and really exotic, okay? So for right now, the easiest thing to do is just memorize the one scale, and all you got to do is move it up from the 5th fret to the 10th fret to the 12th fret. Okay, that's kind of the starting point. And in just a moment, I'll play this, I'll improvise a little solo here over a 12-bar blues backing track in A, so you can hear what I'm going to do. But before I get into that, I want to say that when you're first learning, you can just learn the one scale and move it up the guitar and move it down, and just kind of follow the chords as the chords change. You just move your scale to the correct starting point, okay? Now, when you feel more comfortable with that, after you've done that and you feel a little more comfortable, a little bit more advanced thing you can do is learn the same 3 scales, or the same scale moved up, all in one position, okay? So we'd have... So right now I just played what would be the scale over the D7 chord. I just played it in one position here. And then you could do the same thing over the E7 chord. Okay, it's really just A harmonic minor is what you'd play over the E7 chord. And what that will do is allow you to stay in one position. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves right now. Just to keep things simple, remember, it's the same scale, starting on fret 5 for the A7 chord. For the D7 chord, move up to the 10th fret. And then for the E7 chord, move up to the 12th fret. Okay? And that's going to be the sound that we want to hear. All right, now let's have a little bit of fun. We'll just try this over a backing track, a typical 12-bar blues backing track, and we'll modulate using different harmonic minor scales over each chord. So there you hear it. I'm just kind of goofing around. I just improvised that. But the point is that every time that the A7 chord comes, I'm basically playing the 5th mode of harmonic minor with the root on A. Okay? And then when the D7 chord comes, it's the same thing, just moved over to D. And then when the E7 chord comes, again, same thing. It's just 5th mode of harmonic minor on E. Now, the main thing you've got to try to do here is just memorize the different scale positions. You know, kind of in one area is fine for now. So memorize what it would be over the A chord, then over the D chord, and then over the E chord. And the more that you have that memorized, the less you'll have to think about, okay, what's the next scale pattern? Where do I go next? You won't have to think about that so much. And you can just focus on just kind of goofing around and having fun and improvising and trying to come up with something that, you know, you think sounds pretty cool and feels good to play. That's where you want to get to. So don't worry about, you know, memorizing all the scales and all the different keys, you know, all the way up the neck for now. Just do it in one position, okay? Just do it in one position for each of the chords. Even if it's only just one octave, maybe the top 3 strings right here in this position or any other position. Get comfortable with that so you can improvise freely. And then from there, you can expand out and memorize a little bit more of the scale patterns of each key, and that will make everything a lot more fun. And you can start having fun before you've got everything all worked out and memorized and things like that. All right, let me show you now another sort of exotic scale here. It's actually quite exotic. That's not harmonic minor. It may be a little easier to learn and memorize, and this is known as the Hirajoshi scale, or one of them. This is mode number 4, and the scale looks like this. It's just a pentatonic scale. So you play this over the A7 chord. And then it's the same thing after those first 5 notes. It's the same thing, 1 octave higher, starting on fret 7 of the 4th string. And then you play the same thing 1 octave higher again, starting on fret 10 of string 2. So it's the same 5-note pattern. Okay, and that will sound really good over the A7 chord. Okay, now when the chord changes from A7 to D7, you do the same thing that we were doing earlier with the harmonic minor modes. You just take the scale and you slide it up to the 10th fret. And then an octave higher, same thing. And then it's got a very dark, very exotic sound. This is a Japanese scale. Okay. Now when the E7 chord comes, same thing. We're going to take exactly the same little 5-note pattern. We're going to start on fret 12, then go up an octave from here, up an octave from here, all that is for the E7 chord. Okay, so this is really an easy scale. It's just the 5-note pattern. So if I go back to we start on the 5th fret, that's the whole pattern. Moving up an octave, up another octave, and that's for A. For the D chord, same thing, starting on fret 10. Then for the E7 chord, start on fret 12. Okay, now you might be wondering whether we're talking about the Hirajoshi scales or the harmonic minor, 5th mode of harmonic minor scales I showed you earlier. How does this work since those scales are all they're not in the same key, they're in different keys? That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Each scale is in a different key. Okay, so even though our 12-bar blues progression is basically just blues and A, same blues-based key, etc. Just goofed up the rhythm there, but you get the idea. All of that's kind of in the same key, but we are going to change keys every time that the chords change. So we are modulating, that means changing keys over each chord. Okay, and that makes a very, very, very cool sound. If you like my videos on YouTube, you are going to love my personalized breakthrough guitar lessons. I'm going to show you exactly how to transform your guitar playing from being just okay to becoming really awesome, even if you feel stuck right now or you've had some self-doubts in the past. Just imagine how much better your guitar playing is going to become when you know exactly what to do, exactly how to practice, and you've got the guidance and roadmap to get you there. Now, I've done this for thousands of people over the years. And if you do the work, if you'll practice at least 30 minutes a day on exactly what I teach you to do, the way I teach you to do it, I am absolutely certain you can become the guitar player you want to be. Now, unlike other lessons out there on the internet, you're not going to get some generic cookie cutter lesson plan or course from me. You're going to get lessons customized to you, to who you are, what your goals are, your challenges, your strengths, your weaknesses, your learning style, experience, frustrations, and most importantly, who you want to become as a guitar player. So check out my breakthrough guitar lessons right now. Go to my website, tomhess.net, chords.com/guitar and see if they're right for you. And I'll see you on the other side.